Feathered hair, wild fashion, and colors so loud they practically screamed welcome to the 1970s, a decade that was so much more than disco and bell-bottoms. If you lived through this era, prepare for a nostalgia overload. And if you didn't, buckle up. You're about to see why your parents can't stop talking about the good old days. From questionable fashion to fads that took over the world, here are 15 trends from the 70s that we low-key miss. Number 15. Earth shoes, the backwards revolution. Long before Crocs started dividing friendships, Earth shoes had people walking funny with their negative heel design. Picture walking uphill at all times. Yeah, that was the Earth shoe experience. Created by a Danish yoga instructor, these odd-looking kicks promise better posture and a natural way to walk. Somehow, they became a full-on movement, with Hollywood stars and eco-conscious folks rocking them like they were the peak of foot fashion. Orthopedic experts were skeptical, but that didn't stop millions from hopping on the uncomfortable comfort revolution. Number 14. Mood ring, your emotion exposed. In 1975, mood rings took over the world because who wouldn't want a ring that revealed your emotions? Blue meant calm, green meant normal, and black? Either you were deeply troubled or just had cold hands. The science was basic thermotropic crystals that changed color with temperature. The marketing? Genius. Mood rings convinced an entire generation that jewelry could read their soul. At the peak of the craze, these things were selling for over $250. Did they actually work? Absolutely not. But watching them shift from nervous black to happy blue made them one of the most iconic fads of the decade. Number 13. Parachute pants, the ultimate breakdancer look. Tight, shiny, and covered in more zippers than necessary. Parachute pants were the statement piece for anyone trying to prove they had breakdancing skills. Made from nylon, the same stuff used in actual parachutes, these pants were lightweight, flashy, and just extra in every way possible. Michael Jackson and breakdancers everywhere made them legendary, and they came in every neon shade imaginable, because the brighter, the better. But as quickly as they blew up, they disappeared. Turns out, unless you were spinning on cardboard, they were low-key terrible for everyday wear. And don't even get started on the zipper accidents. Number 12. Yo-yos, comeback king of toys. Yo-yos weren't new in the 70s, but they came back with a vengeance, thanks to glow-in-the-dark design, whistling yo-yos, and intense playground competitions. Mastering tricks like walk the dog and rock the baby basically made you the coolest kid in school. Some brands even dropped butterfly-shaped yo-yos to make tricks easier. The satisfying snap of a perfect return? Unmatched. But then video games came along in the 80s, and yo-yos quietly rolled back into toy history until their next inevitable comeback. Number 11. CB Radio, the original social network. Before Facebook, Twitter, and group chats, there were CB radios, where everyone was suddenly a truck-driving legend. These crackling roadside party lines blew up in the 70s after truckers used them to navigate the 1973 oil crisis. Suddenly, everyone wanted a CB handle, aka a cool radio nickname, and the chance to chat with complete strangers while cruising the highway. Movies like Smoke and the Bandit made CB culture mainstream, and phrases like 10 to 4 and what's your 20 became part of everyday slang. For a brief, magical moment, long road trips weren't lonely. They were an open chat room where you never knew who'd respond. Number 10. Marbles, the ultimate playground battle. Before video games, playground rivalries were settled with marbles. These tiny glass spheres came in endless colors and patterns, and if you had the biggest shooter, you ruled the playground. Games like Knockout and Ringer kept kids flicking marbles across the pavement for hours, with the satisfying clink of a perfect shot being absolute music to a winner's ears. But as arcade games took over, marbles went from prized possessions to collector's items. Still, nothing beat the pure adrenaline of winning your friend's beloved cat's eye, and knowing they had to watch you walk away with it. Number 9. Boombox, the soundtrack of the streets. Huge, heavy, and impossible to ignore, boomboxes weren't just for playing music, they were status symbols. Whether blasting Run DMC, the Bee Gees, or Blondie, having a boombox on your shoulder meant you had serious attitude. Some of these beasts needed 10D batteries and weighed as much as a small child, but the bigger your box, the more respect you got. Cities even tried banning them in public, but that didn't stop people from turning sidewalks into impromptu dance floors. Eventually, the Walkman took over, but nothing will ever match the raw power of a boombox. Number 8. Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube Cube may have been invented in the 70s, but when it hit the mainstream, it drove millions to the brink of insanity. With over 43 quintillion possible combinations, solving it was basically a miracle unless, of course, you peeled the stickers off. Don't lie, we all knew someone who did it. The craze was so intense, speed cubing competitions became a thing, and books promising foolproof solutions sold millions. Today, pros can solve it in under 4 seconds, but for most of us, it's still sitting unsolved on a shelf, mocking us with its chaotic color scheme. Number 7. Pac-Man. In 1980, these little yellow, pizza-shaped characters took over arcades, living rooms, and pop culture itself. Pac-Man wasn't just a game, it was an unstoppable force. Kids fed quarters into arcade machines just to chomp pellets and escape ghosts, while the Waka Waka sound became instantly iconic. The obsession didn't stop there. Pac-Man had a hit song, a breakfast cereal, and even a cartoon show. It got so big that some arcades had to limit playing time just so everyone could get a turn. Number 6. Chopper bikes, the coolest ride on the block. Before BMX bikes took over, chopper bikes were king, with high handlebars, long cushion seats, and a motorcycle-inspired design. Riding one made you feel invincible. The Rally Chopper was the ultimate dream bike. It even had a stick shift gear lever, making kids feel like they were on a real chopper. The only issue? That gear shifter was dangerously placed, and let's just say, some kids learned that the hard way. But let's be real, the risk made them even cooler. If you had a chopper bike, you weren't just riding, you were making an entrance. Number 5. Sony Walkman, the birth of portable music. Before the Sony Walkman dropped in 1979, your music was everyone's music, blasting from a boombox the size of a microwave. But suddenly, with a pair of wired headphones and a cassette tape, these fads made music became personal. People were now jogging, commuting, and totally zoning out to their perfect mixtapes, unaware they were yelling "what" every time someone tried to talk to them. By 1983, cassettes were outselling vinyl, and the Walkman had changed the game forever. It paved the way for CD players, iPods, and eventually the endless playlists we all live on today. Number 4. MTV, the channel that changed music forever. Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll. With those words, MTV launched on August 1st, 1981, and music was never the same again. For the first time, music wasn't just something you listened to, it was something you watched. Suddenly, image mattered just as much as sound, and artists had to look as cool as they sounded. From Michael Jackson's Thriller to Madonna redefining fashion, MTV didn't just play music, it shaped trends, pop culture, and entire careers. If your video made it to MTV, you weren't just an artist, you were a superstar. Number 3. Leg warmers. Who knew ankles needed their own sweaters? Thanks to Flashdance, fame, and the aerobics craze, leg warmers went from dance studios to everyday streetwear, even if you never stepped foot in a gym. People wore them over leggings, jeans, tights, or just for the vibe. Did they actually keep your legs warm? Not really. But were these fads everywhere? Absolute. Looking back, they make zero sense. But then again, so did half of 80s fashion, and that's exactly why we loved it. Number 2. Shoulder pads. If you wanted power and confidence in the late 70s and early 80s, you didn't lift weights, you wore shoulder pads. From business suits to casual dresses, these foam-filled fad boosters turned regular outfits into power statements. The bigger the shoulder pads, the more serious you were. It was all about that perfect inverted triangle silhouette because apparently looking like an NFL player meant success. Number 1. Breakdancing. And now for the most legendary fad of them all, breakdancing. Born from hip-hop culture, breakdancing wasn't just a dance. It was a battle, an art form, and a street performance all in one. Kids spent hours perfecting windmills, head spins, and the worm, all while flexing their parachute pants and popping moves in front of boomboxes. And guess what? Breakdancing never really died. In fact, it made its Olympic debut in 2024. Now that's how you leave a legacy. Wow, what a ride! Which of these fads did you love the most? Or did we miss your favorite? Drop your nostalgia in the comments. And if you're craving more throwbacks, hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more blasts from the past coming your way. Speaking of blasts from the past, let's switch gears. Some songs ruled the charts for a moment and then disappeared, but if you hear them today, they still hit just right. Let's take a trip back in time with 15 one-hit wonders from the 70s you forgot, but will love again.